mode. And then I'll admit folks. All right, here we go. Good luck, everyone. You're going to be wonderful.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Hello and welcome, everybody. We see folks are coming in. Welcome. Come on in. We're going to give a few minutes before we begin, but thank you and welcome. Please, please go into the chat. Tell us who you are. Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. This is Toolkit from Youngstown, Ohio. I'm driving, so I can't put in chat.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you guys, if you can't go into the chat, please mute yourself so that we're not having breakthrough, but tell us who you are. Hi, Mike. I'm Linda H. Scruggs. Pronouns are she, her, and hers. Let us know where you're coming from, your pronouns, anything you want us to know in the chat, please. Those of you that are on phones, we welcome you. We know you can't go into the chat, so welcome to today's webinar. Having a great day. So please, we'll give it a couple of minutes, but we want to welcome you into our space. Thank you. Hey, Melissa. Come on in, folks. Hey, Lynette and Donna, Candace. Yes. Come on in. Good afternoon. Folks are popping in. We're excited. We have a great webinar scheduled for you today. Hey, Crystal and Maria. Yes. We Baltimore in the house. Hey, Ronald Johnson. Hello, Cece, Eunice. Folks are coming in. Please tell us who you are, where you're coming in from. Share your pronouns so that we all can be together as we are sharing today. Again, please mute yourself if you're not muted. You cannot share who you are via the chat. Please know that we honor and we're thankful that you're here with us today. But we ask you to keep yourself muted. We will have a time of Q&A where we'll ask you to unmute and talk with us. It's about 2 minutes after. I want to give a couple more people a minute to get in. I see you, Marcia. Hey, and Jeff Taylor. Hi. Bruce Grace is here. Dada. Come on in. I love this. We're going to be talking about Black women living with and aging with HIV and other chronic diseases today. Really excited that you guys could be with us. Thank you. Thank you. Come on in. Yes. Fort Lauderdale is in the house. Baltimore, I see. Come on, Palm Springs, Alexandria, Virginia. Tell us where you guys are coming from when you're telling us who's here. DC, Tennessee, I love it. Maryland is in the house. I love it. Who's here with us? Oh, Albany. All right now. Great. This is wonderful. Texas is with us. North Texas. All right. Thank you, everybody, coming in. We're going to give folks about 1 more minute. And then we are getting ready. Our panelists are here. We're ready for a fabulous afternoon together. So thank you for coming in. Please tell us your name, your pronouns, and where you're joining us from today. Great. Thank you. Hi, Loretta. I see Sean. Hey, Sean. Yeah, Marlene is here with us. Melanie is here. Debbie. I love this. Great. Our great executive director of the Union Project, Mr. Jeff Berry. Hello, Jeff. Great. Thank you. I love it. Hey, Dana, Sean, Tammy. Folks are coming in from South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Indiana, Indianapolis. Great. So it's a couple minutes after. I'm going to try to keep us on track. My name is Linda H. Scruggs. I am the co-executive director of Ribbons. Ribbon is a national nonprofit organization located right outside of Washington. I would tell you I'm a woman diagnosed with HIV for over 30, I think over 34 years. I will also tell you that on Friday, celebrating me, I'm already started celebrating. Friday will be my 36-year drug-free anniversary. And I say it will be because I absolutely know in the next 36 hours, I'm not going to be drinking or drugging. So celebrating that. That's enough about me. Want to give you a couple of housekeeping guidelines to help us today. The event, as you know, when you sign on, today is being recorded. We will share this event with you. We're excited that you're able to be with us. Closed capturing is available. You just have to click away at that. If you use closed capturing, you know that. We ask you to please use the chat feature. We want to capture all your questions. We would take questions on the last part of the webinar. So don't be like me and forget them. So drop them in the chat, your questions, or write a note beside you. And staff will gather the questions out of the chat and we'll bring them back to the panelists. So if you drop it in the chat, we ask you to note the panelists, or we'll figure it out based on the time that your message will come through. If you wish to remain anonymous, you may keep your video turned off or reconsider or renaming yourself, putting the avatar in place of your picture during the recording of this webinar. Please take a moment at the end or throughout the webinar. If you have to leave early, the Heather and folks in the background, Larry's back there, the Real Project team back there, they'll be dropping the evaluation link in. So if you have to, she just dropped it in for the first time. If you have to leave, please do us a favor and complete the evaluation. As many of you know, evaluation is key to us self-assessing what we're doing, how we're doing it, but it also allows us to prove to our funders who really support the work of the Reunion Project that we're doing something that you like, you need, or we need to do better at. So please don't forget the evaluation. So introducing the Reunion Project, this is my pleasure. As many of you know, the Reunion Project was founded in 2015 by a group of activists living with HIV. It's a national alliance of long-term survivors of HIV, collaborating with local and national advocates, providers, and researchers. I'm not going to read the slide. I hope you can. The Reunion Project is the sweet in our iced tea. It is what allowed, and the vision of the founders of the Reunion Project allowed those of us that had been living with HIV, I would say at the time, 20 plus years, where we'll say that you define what long-term survivorship is. It was redefining that we're still here, we're still visible, we're still relevant. And it's a vision that comes true to ensure that we stay on top of the game. And as leaders engaging in this space, long-term survivors, we're doing the work to ensure that you are part of this, we're a part of this, and that we're a collective community together. So I want to just thank our funders. I noted them earlier. Please, I thank you to Gilead Sciences, Beeve Healthcare, and Broadway Cares. Without their generous support, generous grants from these funders, we could not do this work at the Reunion Project. We could not bring these fabulous webinars, town halls, and everything that we do, whether in your city or virtually, without the support of folks who believe in the work that we do at the Reunion Project, but also you as a community. I keep saying we, like I'm work for the Reunion Project, but I'm a long-term survivor. So like me, you get to say we too, we're in this together. But just to keep us going, Black women living with HIV and aging and comorbidities. I am so excited to be moderating today's session. I'm glad that you came with us. When I heard this topic, I said, that's me. And I was really excited to be honored to be asked to be with us today. But we're excited you can be with us. I know we have men and women here. I'm extra excited to see the women. I'm even more excited to see men here with us today because you are our supporters, you are our help, you are our partners, you are our cheerleaders in this space. So the more that you know, the more you're able to help and support Black women as we age gracefully and we learn to manage the other comorbidities that go along both with aging, but also with living with HIV. Next slide, please. All right, now here they go, here they go. We have 4 wonderful speakers today. Our first speaker you're going to hear from is Dorcas Baker, Lepena Reid, Waheedah Shabazz-el, and Tana Pradia. You will hear from all of them in a few minutes as we're going to keep going. But I want to first introduce our keynote speaker for this afternoon, which is Dorcas Baker. Dorcas is, how do I explain Dorcas? As a woman diagnosed with HIV in 1990 and going to Johns Hopkins less than a year later, Dorcas Baker, we just found out this year, we came to Hopkins within months of each other. So I've had the honor to work with Dorcas personally. She was such a cheerleader and advocate for me as a new person living with HIV and someone new to the workforce. I had never worked in the healthcare space. So I have watched Dorcas for over 30 years champion people living with HIV. I have watched her in clinical trial spaces, making clinical trials relevant, that they were supportive in the language and the work that they've done. As she has spent this time at Johns Hopkins, overseeing so much of the work that happens at Hopkins and women. That wasn't enough for her. She's also the regional coordinator for the AETCs in the Mid-Atlantic area. But I also love the fact that she's a co-founder of OL. She'll talk to you about OL herself. I don't want to mess up the acronym of it. But I don't want to go anymore because I can go on. But I'll tell you, if you're looking for a champion, not just in women, but in how people living with HIV from A to Z should show up, should be represented, should be supported and elevated, it is Dorcas Baker, who has led that for over 30 plus years. Dorcas, come on board. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Linda, for that warm welcome and that warm introduction. And it's so good to see everyone, even though I can't see them all, but I just know we have a great attendance. And I just want to thank you, Linda, and the committee for the reunion project, who were just in Baltimore in February. We haven't forgotten that. And just for this opportunity to share today. And I count it an honor, really, to be among such awesome women who are your tenacity, your persistence, the endurance, the patience, and you've demonstrated we will not stop throughout many decades of life. But this was a smaller meeting. I always like to know the age of women with the lived experience, and then we total them up at the end to see how many years of life has been dealt with this with HIV. And sometimes we get thousands of years of lived life. But anyway, we can't do that today. But I certainly want to call this, and I'm just doing, my task is to lay a little foundation for where we have been, where we came, where we are, what we need to do next. And it's going to be an abbreviated few minutes. And I wish we had more time to go into more detail. But you know what? The most important piece of this today is the panelists and all of you, so we can have a discussion. So I called this, what I'm going to share, A Woman's Journey, Aging with HIV. Who knew? And I'm going to put this in PowerPoint mode. Is that all right? You let me know if you can see it with the main slide. Who knew that HIV would turn around like this? When I came on board in 1990, the early 90s, there was death and dying. And then as treatment got better, this is one condition that has made a complete turnaround. We are seeing people live and live long. And I don't think the world was ready for long livers, right? But it happened anyway. So let's get started. Just a few slides. I thought it would be appropriate. We just came out of Women's History Month, just for like 15 seconds, a moment to remember Waheedah Broadbent. And Waheedah made her transition recently, and we were so honored to have her at our Legends and Youngins conference several years ago. And she came twice and talking about a lived life with vertical transmission, a dandelion of dandelions, a lifetime survivor. And we just want to recognize that that was a story. Now, I call this the journey for me because it just kept coming to my mind that this is what is happening. This has been a walk. This has been not a jog, not a sprint. This has been a journey. And I just put that picture there as an example. I broke the word down to journey. You'll see this again. J, just because, and you can fill in the blanks. The O is for being open to change as you hear the stories and the what's going on with the women on the panel and all of us today. The U is understanding. Do you need to understand why? Understanding why and what that means to you. The R in journey is reaching out. The N, what's necessary? When you leave here today, what are you taking away that's necessary for you, and what's been necessary for you on this journey? Are you carrying baggage and things you could have left on the side of the road? And the E is for evaluate. And then finally, you know what the Y is for? You. You decide what's going to happen from this moment on. And what has happened so far is still a journey. So we already know by 2030, 70% of people with HIV will be over the age of 50. We know that. We've come so far. We already know that women make up 23% of the HIV cases in the United States, but over 50 people with HIV in the United States are over 50. And that's just a chart, but I want you to pay attention for a moment. You see where it's purple and it says 50 and it goes all the way up. Several years ago, these bars were shorter where it says 60 to 64 and over 65. And I know we have a diverse group of ages here, but look, don't forget, there are people coming behind you. And this is the first generation of people living long, women living long, Black women living long. But there are more to come. And it doesn't include those that may have vertical transmission, where some have reached 40 to 42 years old and younger. But it does include the fact that there's life and not death. So we know there's some barriers to care among Black women living with HIV. The list is longer than what can be shown. I borrowed this slide from one of my colleagues. Stigma, is that gone? No, it's still there. Poor health, HIV care quality, not what it can be. The inadequate social support, unmet needs that are still there, intimate partner violence, prioritizing. One thing that we do as women, prioritize care for others more than ourselves. Substance use is there, whether it's alcohol or whatever could be going on. And this was just a sampler. There's no way we can put everything else on here that could be barriers to care. But we want to move past barriers, and we're making progress, even though it seems slow. But I'm one of those, you just keep on going. You saw that road. If you had to sit down for a minute, you just keep on going. You keep on going, and there can be change, and change can happen with all of you. So what's the big deal? So it's now widely recognized that women versus men have greater immune activation in response to many viruses. Over the past, I would say 5 to 7 years, maybe a little longer, but really is revved up now, talking about with HIV, women have a higher burden of comorbidities or other conditions, chronic illnesses that go along with aging. And they're seeing, we thought so, but we know it. And when we say women, that's general, but you know, Black women even more so. But it's a big deal, this burden of, say, NACM. And it can be compounded by menopause transition. We can have a whole hour or two talking about menopause, but a lot is happening that is so good now to realize they're realizing that more work needs to be done, but menopause is not just a GYN issue. Now, brain and menopause, they're finding out that they hold hands and how estrogen and the brain kind of work together. And it makes a big deal in whatever else can happen in women. We could talk a lot about changes in our bone health, and I know one of the panelists is really good about that. We can talk about bone fracture. You know, I stopped the list because it will be way too many comorbidities to talk about in just these few minutes that I have. And so I sort of summed it up in this slide. This was in 2021, but this information is really hot information. I'm still learning. Comorbidities in women. Looking at the age, you see where the blue is and the light blues for 65 plus. Well, I looked at that because I'll be 70 in August, but that's okay. I looked at that. I may not have HIV, but I still looked at that because I fall in that category. But look at these ages and how hypertension, look at diabetes, look at cardiovascular disease, look at lung disease. This particular study just looked at those four. But we know even in Black women, the hypertension, the diabetes, and the heart disease is even more so. And it's being recognized. And there are things that we can do to decrease the risk of all of these. But it's, again, new information that's coming out, and I want you to stay tuned to that. And maybe one day we can just talk about these alone in heart disease and preventing that and what can be done. But it matters as people live long. Men have comorbidities too, but women, is more so, and they're finally realizing it. And women haven't been in a whole lot of studies down through the years, period, but now they're finding out that this is happening. So my question is, how do we navigate on this journey? Because my time is up and I'm going to stop. I just want to show this one slide. This one slide, I love it, but guess what? Everything is not on there. Tips. Oh, no. We have to spend time, and you'll hear women share today things to do to prevent frailty or to help age healthy and age healthy as women. They put a few here, but that's no. That's not all. That's not all. But I thought I liked that slide of the running. So I just ended with this slide again as we go through this webinar, the journey. Just because, be open to change, understanding maybe why you're on the journey, what you're going to do, reach out, what's necessary, evaluate, and at the end of the day, you decide. And let's not forget about new HIV infections among Black women. It just doesn't exist in a vacuum. There are other STIs to consider. And last but not least, PrEP matters in Black women for prevention. And I'm going to stop. That's all I have, Linda, because I'm eager to hear everybody else, and let's roll.
Wow, Dorcas. Wow. That is absolutely wonderful. I love that, the journey. The folks are in the chat are bouncing great accolades to you. Thank you for sharing that information with us, Dorcas. I know we'll have some questions, some additional comments for you. And I love that you added, I call them social factors, not necessarily social determinants of health among Black women. They're often factors that contribute to what's happening, not what happened, what's continually to happening in our Black and brown communities. So I love that, those diseases, and the fact that there are other things, when you equal you, we're seeing more, not just in men. Often we'll look at men. We're seeing the rates of other STIs as well among Black women. So thank you for lifting that up. I don't want to prolong this. I can't wait to get to the Q&A. We have somebody coming up next, though. Y'all know her. I'm gonna be like Steve Harvey. Y'all know her. You know she's fabulous. She's been around this community since 2003 is diagnosed. But Waheedah Shabazz-el, this Black Muslim queen who came into the HIV arena and took us by storm and has mothered and birthed and adopted. I'm sure more of us call her mother than she definitely has birthed. Waheedah has been with the Positive Women's Network. She's a retired postal worker. Like, what was you doing there? I can't even imagine her at the post office or not even delivering mail. I don't know what she was doing. but we know many of us knew the work she was doing at the Positive Women's Network in building chapters and community convening and all of those things that go along with that. But now at the Reunion Project, her accolades are high and many, but more than anything, Mother Queen, we honor you, we thank you, and come on board.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And of course, I want to say my reunion project, but the reunion project belongs to all of us. So I want to thank everybody for coming. And before I begin, before I get into aging and comorbidities, because we're all aging and we all going to experience difficulties that come along with it. Before I talk about how long I've had AIDS, before I talk about when the gout came up, and before I talk about the sleep apnea, before I talk about the neuropathy and the hypertension, before I talk about the lipodystrophy and the shingles that I had, and before swollen ankles and the water pills and the menopause, and before I talk about the arthritis, before I talk about the dentures and the eyebrows growing gray and the occasional vaginal dryness, before I talk about all of that, I want to take a minute to talk about the joy of aging, the joy of being a matriarch in my family. I want to take a minute to talk about, before I talk about, even though, in spite of the COVID, right, I want to talk about the joy that I've acquired along my way of becoming, I'll be 71 on my next birthday. I get so much joy out of seeing you all here. I get joy from community. I heard Dorcas talk about the social support. I get joy from the social support, and I want to document this because I don't know that the joy of living as a long-term survivor has been documented. So I had a doctor's appointment the other day, and this is a new doctor for me, so I'm wanting her to get to know me, and I'm saying to her, I'm trying to tell her what a happy person I am. I'm happy, happy, happy. My spirit is happy. And she asked me, well, what makes your happiness? Where's your happiness coming from? I told her the joy comes from staying connected to my community, the HIV community, the LGBTQ plus communities, my faith community, my family, my dear friends, my great coworkers, and the joy of breathing life back into a person who's newly diagnosed with AIDS, who's newly diagnosed with HIV. That brings me joy. And then I went into another part of the building and I ran into 3 people that I had met 22 years ago. We're all diagnosed with AIDS. We hadn't seen each other in a while. We hugged, we held on to each other, we laughed, and we experienced the survival together, the joy of survival together, right? And then we shared that we were all undetectable, we were all diabetic, we were all on Ozempic, we had all gotten married relationships either with ourselves or other persons. We were all working part-time somewhere. We were all senior citizens, but through through each other, being together, connected with community, we shared that we were actually living inside of joy, and that we were living our best life together, right? So just us being there in spite of HIV, in spite of us out, and that we all have something to contribute. The joy of having something to contribute to the national AIDS policy, the joy of having something to contribute, to a person who's newly diagnosed is joyful for me. You all have made my journey, and I see you there, Marcia, and I'm talking to you. You all have made my journey a joyful journey because I felt supported the entire way. So this is a lot of things we can do by ourselves. HIV is just not one of them. So I do suffer with all of those comorbidities that I talked about. And I when I wrote it down, I was, oh my God, to write it down is it's very powerful because you can't deny it when you put it on paper. But what I'm not going to do is deny myself the joy of aging in this community. And so I'm going to pass the mic with that, because I want you kind of like to sit on that for a while, and I know the other women have a whole lot more to contribute, but I'm not here to complain, right? But I'm definitely here on purpose. So I'm just going to pass the mic back to Linda. Thank you so much.
Wow, Waheedah, thank you. Joy. So those, some of y'all are from the church. It's a song we sing, Joy Bells. I love it. Like, what are the joys? And I love what all of this stuff is going on. This joy that I have, I get to share it with this community. I love it. Thank you for sharing your joy. Thank you for teaching us joy along the journey. Guys, please get your questions in the chat. Get your comments in the chat. We're going to be coming to you soon. But up next, hold up, wait a minute, somebody. It is her, it is her, it is her. It is Miss Lepena Reid. Lepena is a wellness coach, an advocate, activist, skill building trainer, and facilitator. She is so much more. She's like this mother of Zen, right? It's something I want to say, but I don't know if I could talk about all the different types of yoga she does. She has stretched my view personally around self-care and wellness and wholeness, and love. And I just know she is such a great Black woman who is thrives beyond this HIV diagnosis. And she sprinkles this Black girl fairy dust wherever she goes with her beauty from the inside out. Miss Lepena Reid, come on up and share with us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, sisters. First thing I want to say, Waheedah and everyone, say the word alive. Every day I wake up and I'm thankful to be alive. I want to wave to everyone. If you want to put your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care, shake them out, sprinkle that Black woman beauty dust there, Linda, to you. Raise those shoulders, inhale, and then breathe out. Lift them up once again through your nostrils, hold, and let it out again. Oh my goodness, this is a great day. And I want to thank the Reunion Project for hosting this series topic and giving me the opportunity to share today, and with the other amazing women that are on this panel. Oh my goodness, I love and appreciate each and every one of you. You have poured into my heart in so many ways over the years. So in beginning, I want to say that for so long, Black women have been overlooked in the continuum of care. The social determinants of health have not been there. But we are the first generation of HIV, and we are here to create the solutions we are addressing: aging, intergenerational families, caregivers, long-term care, and economic factors. Back in 1980, I first tested for the human immunodeficiency virus. I would say that's some 36 plus years. And I made the choice not to take medications at that time because the ones that were available, I saw many people who were losing their lives. The amount of pills that had to be taken on a daily basis was over 30 plus, so I hear. And I just made the decision that that just wasn't for me at that time. But moving forward into the early 2000s, I had gotten records from the doctors that I had acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. And that was something different. And I say the words, you may say, why do I say acquired immunodeficiency syndrome and human immunodeficiency virus? Because those letters have, they almost, it has as many letters as it is in the alphabet. In the human immunodeficiency virus, there's 26 letters in that. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. And so to shorten it for me is sort of like shortening it to another 3-letter word that people are afraid about. The stigma jumps right in. So I use that quite often for me so that I know the depth of what this virus has been in my life. At that point, when I acquired the AIDS diagnosis, my viral loads were in the millions. My CD4 count and my T cells was just a single digit. And I also, at that time, they gave me 3 additional diagnoses, or comorbidities, as we say now: emphysema, COPD, liver disease, hepatitis C, and my stress levels were just over the top. They were just wide and filled my life on so many levels. But in 2000, early 2000s, medications had become a little more streamlined in terms of dosing. Those 30-day pills that many people were taking had reduced to a 2 to 3 medicine combination ART antiretroviral therapy. So I thought at this time, maybe this was something that I could manage. So I began treatment. Over the time, I want to say those letters in the alphabet from A to Z, those 26 letters, doctors have given me diagnoses as long as from A to Z. Some of them are thyroid, glaucoma, cholesterol, neuropathy, vitamin D deficiency. Even at a study that I did with NIH, I found out that during a stroke that I wasn't even pretty much aware of, I had, it showed brain tumors. So comorbidities really set strong throughout my body in many ways. In 2015, though, after my first failed attempt with interferon for the liver disease or hepatitis C, my body was successfully cleared 100% for medications that I took for 12 weeks. That was amazing. It happened around the month of October, which is my birth month, so I felt like I had been rebirthed. What can we feel as people living with this virus if we one day heard that same synopsis? Oh my goodness, but that was powerful. That was really impactful. So then there came along the one time, once a day pill. And boy, did that sound exciting. You know, all of those many pills that we may have had to take just 1 dose a day. So I was really thrilled about that. But in finding out about that, then my kidney levels began to elevate. So that regimen really didn't work for me. And there was, at this point, you know, lots of different ones were coming along through the market. All of the scientists and pharmaceutical companies were getting on board. So there was one, I was a little pushback for it, because the one that I'd taken before, they said you could take it at any time. You didn't need to take it with the food, but this one said you have to take it with food. So sometimes, you know, my food plan just really doesn't measure that I felt like I needed to be on point to point to eat. So, but in taking this, immediately, almost within a small amount of time, I felt that my weight was increasing. I mean, my weight increased some it seemed like 300 pounds. Let's say 30 pounds. So doctors, they asked me, you know, what are you doing? Are you doing anything different? What do you eat? Do you move? Do you do anything? But I knew that nothing had changed for me at that point, really, than that I was taking this medication. I'm active in a lot of ways, and I do watch how I manage, you know, my food intake. So I began doing my own research in the community. Pause Magazine also published an article regarding my concerns. And I began to ask people in the community, are you feeling that you're on any certain medications and you're having weight gain? And many people started to tell me yes. And I didn't even, you know, realize this or recognize that there's anything that I could do. But I want to say that research, like other things, is not a one size fit all. I'm consistent with the routines that I follow on a weekly a weekly pattern, and it works for me. And I've shared this with my doctors. I've seen in some clinical references that they have written information about it, but it hasn't been highlighted. I don't know, this was a couple of years back. Maybe perhaps they're letting others know, but this is really the routine that I follow with taking, my treatments now. And it really balances my metabolism. So what I did was I began to make adjustments on my own for my overall health routine. My body was becoming unbalanced. I began to fall more often. I fractured parts of my body, and I had to do something. So medical providers, of course, wanted to continue to give me more medications, which we know as polypharmacy, and the prescription cascades, where this medicine would interfere with another medication. So when I started off, I shared with you that lots of amounts of medication, large doses, was nothing that I wanted to do in the early years. And certainly I don't want to do it as I'm aging and I have more responsibilities with myself, with family, and remembering, there's a lot to remember these days. So at this point, I'm really staying vital. And I use the word vital because, when you go in for a doctor appointment or to the hospital, that's the first thing they want to do. They want to take your vitals. So we are vital. And it's important that we incorporate things that are going to be vital to our health going forward. I sort of think of movement as medicine. So I began to really consciously work on how and what I'm doing with my body. So there's some days that I may walk 7,000 steps a day. There's some days I may walk 400, some days 50, and some days 24,000 steps. I actually try to move on levels that work for me, and I share this information with others. There have been events and organizations and programs that I'm partnering with at this time for this information. So I'm really close back to the weight that I feel comfortable with, but it's taken me nearly 3.5 years for this. But what it has done for me, it has increased my physical level. It has increased, my energy and my brain. So for that, it is really good. So I want to say we all need to stay vital because you are vital. We need to take actions. In this year of 2024, we have to push the vote. One, for instance, is the cost of medications. We really want to look at the Inflation Reduction Act, and we want to get our votes out there. I want to say today, the 10th, it's a National Youth HIV Awareness Day. So for the youth, this is your journey now. You are a part of it. You, just like us, are on the path to lay our futures. So in saying that, again, I thank the Reunion Project. I thank everyone who has come on today. I don't want to, take up more time. We have so many wonderful and fantastic information to get out to you. But I want you to do one more thing and just breathe in and let it out. And then I want you to stretch those lips and smile. Thank you all.
Wow,
For the
thank you, Lepena.
conversation.
Thank you, Lepena. Oh my God. I don't know. I love being in love, right? So I'm addicted to love. I love you. I love this. You know what? She said, how many letters is in this word? Like, who thinks of that other than Lepena? Your usage of words and vocabulary and how you think about education in this disease is very different from, I think, anybody I know. How you bring wholeness to your messaging. I want to thank you. I love that you said the word vital, right? That we are vital and we have to stay vital. I mean, you're just a champion in that space. But I also want to just acknowledge, Lepena, you brought some vulnerability for me. You made me feel vulnerable for a minute because you were sharing, and that thing was touching very personal spaces. You know, I'm gonna tell you guys, we had this prep call and we talked about, for most of us, right? I always, and this is Linda's thing, you could be doing this for a long time, and this still is hard sometimes. And I found that because we're telling the truth. When we lie, we can lie and we don't feel nothing. We got this. We're going to sell you some swamp land and somebody's brother, right? But when we tell truths and we hear truth that connects to our inner self, that makes us feel vulnerable. Because it's not about people pleasing. It's about what have I done and what has it cost me to be in this space. So, Lepena, thank you for being vulnerable with us and sharing your truths. That's right, Waheedah, giving you love. Folks, please, please go into the chat, give her some love. I see a couple questions already have come through the chat as we've been talking. Lepena, again, thank you. I don't want to say the wrong word, Amazon, whatever, all these multi-languages. I'm a military brat, so I speak all types of Ebonics and Chronics and chronologics, right? I make up words all the time. So, but thank you so much for your love. We got one more soul sister getting ready to come up here. All right. And I always mess her name up, so I'm gonna apologize in the beginning. One day I'm gonna say, please just say it real easy for me. Some of us are the phonic kids. We need you to say it phonetically, right? But Tanya Panda, she's gonna repronounce it for me. I love it. Tanya starts her bio like I do, Tanya. First of all, I'm a mother. She said, I'm a mother of 3 children. I'm a grandmother, and I'm a great grandmother. That's about resilience and living with HIV. Not many of us thought we would be able to say that. But Tanya, I met Tanya through her experience at PWM. I think it's the Greater Houston chapter is where Pana came into this community similar to Waheedah. I think she was kind of quiet in the beginning. But then suddenly this little person came blasting out with this big voice of triumph. How do I champion women in the work and the tools that we need to do? Houston's a big city, but she showed up in a big way, not just in Houston. I love that every time you take the room, you show up in presence and you show up with meaning. So it's this little person, you may say, well, you may miss her in the meeting in the conference, but let her open that daggone mouth, everything from Asia United Pop. She has been doing work. So you may not always be in the front of the line. Tanya, one of them people that says, if you get in the line, you're going to get the tools you need to be a change maker in this community. Tanya, come on, do me a favor. Pronounce your whole name correctly so folks will get it on the recording. I love you and appreciate you.
Thank you. I am Tana Pradia, she, her, and hers. And I want to say it is an honor to be here with my beautiful sisters today and everyone that is joining us. And thank you, Reunion Project, for having me. But, one of the things that I have lived through, I'm gonna be totally honest. I've lived through addiction. I've almost died from TB, mental health issues, domestic violence. Comorbidities is crazy because one of the things that I've learned in these years, in the last couple of years, is anal cancer. And I have had to deal with that. And even with my pap smears coming out like I have cancer, but neuropathy, everything. I have a whole list of things as I age with HIV. But one of the things that I do know is I've had doctors tell me I'm the professional. I know what's best for me. What's best for you? No, I know what's best for me. I know what is best for me as a Black woman. So my approach is you need to listen to Black women. We know our bodies. We know what our health is like. We know that everyday traumas that we go through. And I want to say, a lot of you women have taught me. Waheedah has showed me so much love, but Waheedah taught me to understand I do have a voice. Linda has taught me things. Lepena has taught me things. But one of the main things that I had to get in check was that mental health, because I'm going to be honest, if I did not get my mental health in check, I wouldn't be here today. I would be dead, because I was told I was going to die in 2009. And one of the things that helped me through that was my daughter asked me a question. Mom, we love you. We need you. Your grandkids need you. Fight. And I have been fighting. I had a T cell count of 14. I didn't love myself. But I'm telling you all today, I love myself, I respect myself, and I'd be doggone if I let anybody take my joy, take my dignity, and take my self-esteem. This is about me today, and it's about each and every Black woman that's living with HIV. Fight. You have a voice. Stand. If you don't have nobody pick up that phone, you got a whole tribe behind you. That's how I survived. I've been clean since 2010, and I'm still clean today. PWN has given me a platform that I have a tribe of sisters. I have everything that I need. I have the love of family. I have the love of community. And here in Houston, they show me that love, where I've been going to the doctor for over 20 years. A lot of those ladies are not here anymore, but the ones that are still here, they call me. They say, hey, I need help. I need guidance. That's what this is about for me. None of this is about me. All of this is about my community, my sisters that I have gone through addiction with, that I fight on the battleground, because I believe that I'm going to be that grassroots person that's on the field doing early voting, doing election, until everyone understands and is educated on the issues that we are fighting for. We're fighting to not to be criminalized for living with HIV. We're fighting for women's rights, access to health care, because people think women's rights is about abortion. No, it's about our health care. And I'm going to stop right there and say thank you to everyone today. And I'm going to pass this back to Linda.
Man, wow, I don't know what to say.
For all the
Oh
panelists
my
and the
goodness.
moderator and the
Oh my,
keynote.
please mute yourself. Please mute, please mute yourself. Tanya, not you, baby. You come on back with me for a minute. This fireball. Tanya, you know what? Thank you. You know, particularly, so I'm gonna tell you a secret, because I know everybody here not Black, right? But for a Black woman to say, I got to deal with my mental health, that's like, because Black folks don't be admitting that we got some stuff going on sometimes. So I thank you for, again, that sharing. That's a real piece. I love that. Often we look not to look at the association of mental health, mental wellness, and stressors. And how do we manage that? And often, how has mental health sometimes help support the acquisition of us getting to an HIV diagnosis? Because I'm gonna tell you, listen, in my Black house, we thought only white people was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm just saying, that's not everybody Black family house, but in my Black family house, that's what it was, and we believed it. but it was HIV for many of us that was the knock on the door that helped us to mental wellness. So I thank you for sharing that vulnerability. Yes, give it up. Let's come off mute for a second. Let's give all the panelists some love. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. We're going to go into some Q&A, but thank you. Let's just celebrate you. Celebrate your resilience.
We love you all.
Thank
Love
you.
you
Thank
all.
you. This has been fire. Yes. Yes,
Wonderful, wonderful.
yes, I just wanted y'all to hear because I know they're in the back exciting. I get to stay a little bit, but I know that they was back there and they wanted to say something other than just thank you for sharing your power, your strength, your vulnerability, and your life's reality. You know, often as a leader in HIV and a woman has been diagnosed for over 30 years, people think there's a glamour piece when you're at the front of the line, when you're in the front of the stage. They don't know it costs something. It costs something to take. What is it? What the little young guy said to me? Something about my teeth. I don't know quite what tea means yet. You know, she was saying something about my teeth, right? But it costs something for, I love Tanya said, it ain't just about us individually. It's about how we as Black women get to show up and be responsible and be responsible as leaders is to lead, to educate, to impact, and to create change. So I thank you, ladies. We're going to go into Q&A. Before we go into Q&A, I'm going to ask some of the folks that's online. Drop your questions in there. Drop your comments in there. But go ahead. Also tell us, a number of folks shared, like on the panelists, shared different comorbidities and realities they're dealing with. Tell us what are you dealing with and how might you be managing some of that? We won't hear from everybody today, but we want to capture that, whether it is a chronic disease, whether it's diabetes. We really want to know because we want to take this back and say, this is the reality of what's happening with Black women who are living with HIV. So thank you. I know, Heather, I don't know if you, the team, have any questions before I open up to Q&A with folks on the screen, because I know some was dropped into the chat. Anything back there, Heather or Larry?
I just want to highlight that it was put in the chat that there is an individual who is looking for Black women who have been living with HIV for more than 10 years to understand the life experience of Black women living with HIV. And there's a link there. So just wanted to point that out. I'm not seeing any other questions, but we do have a hand raised. So feel free to raise your hand.
Right. And just a note, Heather, that was Susan. I believe she pronounced it Holt. And so if you go into the search her name, you'll see it. Susan has a PDF that you can download to get that information as well. I'm going to ask you to please keep your comments brief as they may come. Please raise your hand if possible. If you're on the phone and cannot raise your hand, I may take a break and ask if there are any phone questions. So let's start off. I see Olga. Unmute yourself, Olga, and you have a question.
Yes, it's not really a question, but it's a comment about all you ladies. I could not have survived without any of you guys. You guys are my hope, my family. I would not have been able to get through my four-way bypass at 38, and I'm 57 now, for all your love when I first got into the community. All you guys are my, the diabetes, the stroke that I had, all the stuff I went through that I normally a person without HIV or any, they don't think will survive. But all your prayers and all your vibes and all that all pulled me through, and all you guys with all the trainings that you guys offered, I would not be who I am. We're probably alive without you guys.
Wow, thank you, Olga. We greatly appreciate that. I see a quick question down in the chat. Debbie is asking, she's wondering if any other women, let's start with the panelists, have dealt with blood clots or pulmonary embolisms. And if you're in the audience, you can drop your response in the chat. But let's hear, have any of you panelists have dealt with or know any impact, as well as you as well, Dorcas? Please respond if you have anything that you know in that area. No, I see no
I'll
comments.
go ahead and say something.
Okay.
I've never dealt with it, but I went to school for respiratory therapy. So I know what a pulmonary embolism is. And that's when you have a or embolism means that you have a blood clot and the blood clot is in your pulmonary veins. So it's stopping the exchange of gases, that is oxygen coming in and carbon dioxide going out. And it could travel. Embolism can also travel. And so I've not had it, but I do know what it is. And I know that it is life threatening. I do know that too.
Right. Thank you, Waheedah. And I've actually had blood clots both in my legs and in my lungs. And looking at, I mean, there's a number of genetic high risk can cause it, but it also could be behavior, eating foods, cholesterol, a number of things could cause it. The Lepena talked about mobility. Minimizing limited mobility also can cause, or as well, even there's travelers blood clot. Actually, my last blood clot was they identified probably was impacted by travelers traveling on an extended flight. So again, it's definitely something we recommend you to talk to your provider about. And I always say, folks, you come to these meetings looking for information on these, talk to your provider and tell your provider not to read from the book, but talk to you about this very personally in that space. We definitely can Google and YouTube stuff. Your provider has your whole portfolio there. And there are definitely tests that we were able to find that a friend of mine, blood clots is connected to a genetic strand in her experience. So she's on warfarin for life. I didn't have to be on warfarin for life, a blood thinner. So definitely, I will always recommend you do that. Tana, were you going to add something to this conversation? All right. So, okay, Dorcas, please do.
What everybody said is absolutely correct. But make sure you talk to your provider and not allow the provider to dismiss you. What you say, sometimes we dismiss and not realize it can be a blood clot in someone's leg, but we're calling it something else. But you be persistent and say, no, this is something else. Could it be a blood clot? You ask. Also, when you're not satisfied, oh, there's another provider, but make sure that you identify that and get the treatment that you need.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. I saw another question. I think it was from Jeff Berry, the executive director at the Reunion Project. Great question, Jeff. Jeff wants to know, as allies, what can allies, not as allies, what can allies do to lift up and support Black women living and aging with HIV? So first of all, we have Dorcas here as a great ally example. But tell us, ladies panelists, also, I'm going to keep telling you to go in the chat because this is just a few perspectives from the panelists. You tell us what you also can get from allies or need from allies. So Tanya, Lepena, Waheedah, what might an ally do to support you as a Black woman living with HIV as well as you're managing these comorbidities?
Well, one thing I want to say is that we don't need people to be gatekeepers. And if you have information about a thing, share it with us. Help us figure out how to get PrEP messages out to Black women because we're failing Black women when it comes to PrEP messages for HIV prevention. And if you have information about research that's coming out because a lot of times Black folks, we don't get the information. We get it like after, like, let's talk about U equals U. U equals U was a study that happened 5 years before I actually heard about it in my Black community. And I remember when I asked my provider, was it true? And she said yes. And this was a provider that I trusted. And I thought that I thought we had this relationship where she was giving me the latest information and she wasn't. So I think that there's a couple of ways I think that people could help who are allies to help us is to make sure that if you have information that we can use to help us get it. And also to make sure that we lift Black women up when it comes to PrEP and when it comes to research, when it comes to everything. When it comes to paying us, when it comes to listening to us, right? Centering Black women. We're not going to Black women are going to end this HIV epidemic. Let me say this first of all. We've been around for 40 years, and I believe it's going to be the Black women who's going to end this HIV epidemic. Because when you help Black women, everybody gets helped because our social status is so low. So support and help Black women, and you'll be helping everybody pretty much.
Great, thank you. In either one of the other panelists, then I have a few hands raised for comments. We're good?
This is Lepena. I guess, I really want to say is you have to form a relationship with your medical providers. And they have to be as honest with you as you are with them. I respect their white coats. They might respect my earrings, but we have to have a two-way conversation. And many of those comorbidities that I shared, sometimes the doctors just sort of, brushed it off. Or, again, like I said, wanted to do a cascade of medication. Well, as we're aging, we don't need, if it's not necessary, just another pill. We need to know the reasoning why this medication is happening, and if beforehand, if there's something else that you can do. Lots of time, with the weight gain, I told them that I was going to build a plan for myself and come back to them. Oddly enough, when they started, I said, did you look at my vitals, my reports today? Do you see what that weight is saying? Oh, yeah. How'd you do that? I worked it. So they have to be as embedded in you as you are with them.
I gotta say something real quick, because she's striking me up. Yeah, absolutely. And if it's just your HIV provider you're seeing, that's not enough. No.
That's not.
You might be seeing someone else treat your diabetes, or someone else is treating something else, but you make sure that they communicate or you get the information you need. But no, that dismissal is still alive and well. Don't allow anything to be dismissed. If sometimes you might have to change your doctor. I don't care if you had them 40 years, but you have to really think about other providers too that are on the team, and they need to communicate, and you have to advocate for that yourself.
Thank you, Dorcas. I love this. Did she say sometimes you got to fire your doctor? You better watch out somebody. Let me go up here to Dawn, because that's a hot ticket, and I will get excited. All right, Dawn, come on up, talk to us.
I apologize so much for being late. Ms. C told me about this earlier. I registered, and then I'm suffering from shopping today. But what I wanted to share was that,
darling? Yes.
Oh, I didn't have a question. I just had a comment. Is that okay? Okay, so my comment is that my comorbidity is pulmonary arterial hypertension. And I had never heard of it. In short, it's high blood pressure in my lungs.
Right.
And I said, well, how did I get this? And they said it's idiopathic. Oh, it just happens. So there's a certain percentage of people who are positive that this will happen to. I just wanted to share that.
Wow.
And it was misdiagnosed as asthma. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Dawn. Sean, I see you. Come on up, darling. Talk to her.
Good afternoon, kings and queens. It is such an honor to be here with you all. What an amazing talk. As we talk about our comorbidities, we have to realize that the age that we are, our physical age, is not necessarily always our health age. We have to remember that we aged 10 years to this experience of living positive with HIV. So, things that we experience, I'm in my 50s now. So, and I thank God for every year of that. I'm just excited to be here. And I just wanted to make that point of, things that we experience in our 40s, they have to treat us as if we were 50. Things that we're experiencing in our 50s, they need to look at us and we're in our 60s and our 70s. So I wanted to make that point out. And I just thank you all for this opportunity. And I love you all. And I love the joy statement that was made. Oh my gosh, Miss Waheedah, that right there speaks to who I am. I have joy in this positive walk of life. God has turned my wound into my weapon. And
you better watch out. I'm gonna need an usher. You better stop. We're gonna need some ushers in here. Sean, do me a favor, Sean. Be bold. So I'm gonna ask everybody else to do this. How old are you? Not in your 50s. How old are you?
I am 54.
Thank you. Y'all heard Sean. I want y'all to drop y'all ages down in the chat. Be bold and celebrate. Because some of y'all are from the, some of y'all are like me. I was diagnosed in 1990, and I was one of the generation that got death sentences, right? That would not be here. I'm celebrating all 58. I turned 59 in like 2 weeks. I'm having a birthday party. And the title is Why Wait Till You 60? Why wait for a mile? Every year we live is a milestone. Come on, Dina. I'm gonna get excited.
Well, hey, good afternoon, everyone. And to my amazing sisters, it is always so nice to be in the space with you all where we can be everything that we are. I had to go run and close my office door just in case, because I needed this moment to be all about me and uninterrupted. So thank y'all so much. And thank you, Sister Linda, for pulling us all together to have this moment together. So 55 years old, 33 year with HIV. So I'm with you, Sean, on the celebration every day. And Sister Waheedah, you definitely hit it on the head with everything that we must be enjoy and praise about, because some of us was told 5 to 10. That's what we was going to be at. And so being here this much, this long with everybody is simply amazing. My question to the community is this. I have transitioned from living in Houston, Metro City, lots of resources, to the rural community. In the 6 counties that I serve, there is on average a 6 to 8% African American population, which means an even smaller, potentially Black female population. We have just started our Beaumont chapter of the Texas Black Women's Health Initiative, and I am seeking guidance in how to attract and support Black women as we navigate both HIV and comorbidities, as we navigate preventing HIV in our younger population, and how to make sure, as Sister Dorcas outlined, how do we make sure that resources and support are available for our 30s and 20s that are going to be growing into the spaces we are now? Thank you.
Wow, Dina. Dina, I have a couple comments. Ladies, do y'all have anything you want to share with Dina? I want to give her a couple resources as well.
I have a comment, and this is what I'm learning, because I live in the suburbs, is our young people, our young Black women, they don't want to hear the word support group. So we have to think outside of the box, because we are living longer. But when I think about it, we are thriving. We are beautiful. We are queens. So we have to come up with ways of educating our young people. But the main thing is listening to Black women. When we listen, we can get a whole lot of information from our communities. And a lot of people think that, oh, Black women don't know nothing. We know how to take care of ourselves, our families, and it has been done historically. So, and I'm going to respond on allies. Allies listen to us. But also, when you are sitting in those rooms, Ryan White planning councils, advisory boards, support groups, look around. Who's missing? And see who's missing. And say it out loud. Y'all don't have no Black women in here. Y'all don't have our Black trans sisters in here. So look around the room. That's how you can help with allyship. Bring us to the forefront.
Thank you. Thank you. Dina, I also, invite you, before I do that, before I put a shameless plug, anybody else on the panel want to make a comment?
I just want to say real quick, and what Tana says is exactly right, but to make sure you expand your field of vision, not just with where the community is, but beyond, become friends with aging things that are happening around you. They will listen. They don't know. And I know some may be worried about stigma, but no. I'm finding that people are stepping out to become friends or get involved with something else that's happening around aging and women. And it may be Black aging and women, but they haven't talked about HIV, but you just show up. You just show up and you don't even really have to give a diagnosis or anything right away, but you're participating in another whole realm because we didn't know aging would be a part of it, but now they are new partners with us. That's just another ally.
I wanted to add, as we were talking about grabbing the youth, we have to change the name to some of the things that are still applying stigma. God did it best, when he came along, he changed, Abram to Abraham, he did it best with changing the name to bring that to that level of service. So I believe it was Billy Graham. He used to do crusades, and he changed that name from crusades now to festivals. And when you see all of these gospel artists and everything now doing these festivals, this was something that Billy Graham started when he changed that name. So I believe if we change the name of a certain thing, we will attract the youth, and we will forego and start dissipating those stigmas that are attached to HIV in the old way of thinking of HIV when you look at death back in the day, and letting them know now that there is life after the diagnosis. So we have to change the name of how we address this and everyone with HIV. And I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing, and I'm gonna go to Jasmine has a comment. There's a lot of comments in the chat, but I want to just say one thing, Dan, or two things. One is to connect yourself with other Black women leaders who are working in communities similar to you. And I also want to say to Black women who are leaders and doing work in communities, it's time to stop being selfish and keeping your IC to yourself. We have to be able and willing to share, because if it's working in your neighborhood and I live in a different neighborhood, I'm not your threat. I really am your sister, right? And I say that also to say, Dana, Ribbon actually recently received a grant from Gilead. We made an announcement. We have a new program called Be Wise. It's out of the Gilead's Black Women Initiative. Many of you may saw the announcement. PACE is a Black Women, Cis and Transgender Women Leadership. Not leadership, initiative. Be Wise, Ribbon is Be Wise. It's Black women inspiring strength and empowerment. We're going to be providing technical assistance, free technical assistance training to Black women programs, Black women-led initiatives, and networks. So please reach out to me, and I'll transfer you to that staff. But I want to say you don't have to have an initiative. One of the things that we do at Ribbon, we give our stuff away. Because if I don't need it right here where I'm working, or if it's working good, sisters, it's like, remember when we used to go next door and say, send the kids next door, I need a cup of sugar? Go down Miss Jane's house, I need some washing powders. To really save our sisters' lives, we got to get back to sharing. If God or the creator, that universe, or you yourself came up with this great idea that works here, Waheedah said that we've been doing this for generations upon generations. We've been sharing, and we've allowed someone else's system put us in a crab pot. Like we got to keep pulling each other down. I charge you to be true sisters in this sisterhood and share your genius, share your reality, share your challenges. Someone said earlier, are we talking about the barriers? Some of the barriers is that we are in a crab pot, that systems have allowed that. But I would tell you, just as Tanya said, we've changed the scenario in other spaces. I remember HIV when it was how you got it, determine your level of class in this community. Yes. And it was within community that decided, no, we're not going to do that no more. You can't hold that against us. So we have the ability to change it. And that is by us opening the doors up and sharing up programs, sharing your skills to other networks, sharing your skills to other organizations. If it's working in Tampa, if it's working in Philly, share it. Because not everyone has a cluster of women or providers or allies. So I just want to do that commercial break to really say we want to do that. I see David's hand. I'm going to take you in 1 second, David. I really want to go back to Jasmine's note in the chat. And it's been a while ago that she wrote this note, but something about this note says she needs a response. Jasmine is talking about how all of us talked about different social connections. She wanted to know if the panelists can make a comment on any communities or social ties that you have lost during your journey of HIV, and how might one cope with that? So I want you, if you can just comment a minute on, have you had the experience of loss in this journey of HIV? It might be a coping space. I'm sure that's something other folks can connect to. And then I'm going to go to David, I'm going to go to Waheedah, and I'm going to Lepena, just because that's the way I saw it. But if someone could connect to Jasmine's response for a second. No? All right.
Linda, let me ask this question. So is she asking, have you lost someone that you really love in the community, or?
So what I hear her saying, and Jasmine, if you're in the audience and still and you want to make a comment, please raise your hand so we can see where you are. But so what I get out of this, she's talking about stigma. She's talking about, have people rejected you, is what I'm reading is. Have you lost friendships? Have you lost social community spaces as a result of your HIV diagnosis, or sharing or being public?
Okay, I can share this. I don't know. When I was diagnosed in 1999, me and my mother's relationship was really damaged because of the stigma, because of the trauma that was caused as me growing up as a child. So HIV was just a symptom, but to this day, I don't have that motherly love that a lot of women have. So yes, I have lost people behind that I've known throughout the years and loved ones. But out of all of that loss and that type of thing, this is where my tribe of community, my tribe of sisters, I have that today.
Okay, thank you. And I invite other folks in the chat. I think that loss and connectivity is some folks' reality, that it does happen. But one of the great things I would say about the HIV community, for everything I lost, I've gotten 1,000 more, in this community. I'm one of those people, Tanya, where my mom is with me today. But it took my mom, I was doing this work for 20 years. My mom was telling my friends I was on vacation. I was going around the country and the world talking, educating. They was like, Linda, she was like, I was a travel agent. I would talk about molestation and rape and all that, and so her stigma was hers. And so I allowed her in that space. I never bumped her with it. I lost my mom for a long time because of that, but I chose to be well. So I invite you to know that everything that you may have lost, I believe this community will give you double for your trouble. David, come on. We got about 5 minutes and we're going to, I know it's so exciting. Thank you, Susan. Come on, David.
Hi, hello, everyone. Linda, thank you for sharing this space with me. I feel like I'm in this amazing women's space. I'm rejoicing with you all. I've been HIV positive for 37 years. I am also the community co-chair for the HIV Health and Human Services Planning Council for New York. So to that comment about joining, I welcome you and invite you to join the Planning Council for the New York EMA. I also wanted to give credence to the individual that talked about getting tested or screened early, because there is something that we have talked about called HIV accelerated aging. So It's being studied. We did a service directive for it in the Planning Council. And it's one of the components that doctors should be aware of, and you can educate them if they do not know. But you should, if there's a screening, you should do it 50, you should do it at 40 probably, or sooner. And that goes across the board. And the last thing I want to say was that I learned this from a medical student. And the first thing they learn in medical school is how to put together a differential diagnosis. And a differential diagnosis is basically, it means of all the things that you hear me say that's going on with me, tell me what it could be. And then after that, so you'd ask them to list it out. And then you're going to catch the provider off guard, because they're not going to expect you to do that because you've been telling them and they may have been dismissing. And so after you ask for the differential diagnosis, then you ask them, how have you ruled those ones that you have said that aren't what it is? How have you ruled them out? And so you get them to respond to why they are not giving credibility to the symptoms that you're having. And it's a way to put them on notice that you know and are expecting them to give you feedback on everything that you've listed. And,
wow.
And to Jeff's question, yes, how can I be of service?
Thank you. We'll talk a little bit more about that, David, because we definitely, I think some of the ladies said, we want you to show up for us, right? You know, often Waheedah, I think, said it, we're not sure, Black women show up for a lot of people, right? But we'll sit in the room in the galley and nobody said nothing about Black women. So I think that many folks do that, keep doing that. And I want to say, because I saw it in the chat somewhere, when I'm saying Black women, I'm saying Black cis and trans women. There are places where we say one or the other based on what the need is. But when you're here today, we're talking about Black women, right? But we also know that Black trans women also are seeing comorbidities. We're not eliminating that. Today's focus is something else. So I want to make sure I lift that space up. I know we only have a couple minutes. Waheedah took her hand down. I see Lepena's and I see
I'm gonna
Dorcas.
put my hand back up. My hand's back up because I just want to just say what I want to say before it's over. This is my closing remark for us to leave.
Well, you can't do your closing yet.
Well, I see 4 minutes, so I see 3 minutes now.
Go ahead.
I want to just make sure that we're checking in on ourselves. I want to say that because we checking on everybody else. We lifting people up, we pulling people up, we pushing people up, and it's okay to do that, but we have to check in on ourselves. And ultimately, it's okay to check in on yourself. And if everything's not okay, it's okay for things not to be okay. I need to say that. Everything's not going to be okay all the time. And if you're feeling it's not okay, that's fine. But you can't ultimately, if you check in on yourself, you can check in on others and understand that it's okay not to be okay.
Thank you. That's a great closing remark, Waheedah. I'm going to ask Lepena. They're dropping the evaluation in the chat already. Lepena, your comment, then I'm coming to Tanya and Dorcas.
Okay, well, I'll try to make it as quick as possible as I do in my 10 minutes, because I could go for 10 years on every.
I'm going to.
The allies that you need, no, I won't. The allies that I connect with are other organizations like AARP, Bone Health and Osteoporosis, Cancer, Alzheimer's. These are a piece of our comorbidities that we can see possibly happening to us going forward. So I involve myself in these communities, one, so they can see a woman living with an HIV virus, and they can assist in ways. For anyone, we gave honor to one of our dandelions before it opened, but know that we have accelerated health comorbidities that happen to our bodies. And it's so important what I'm doing now, and I hope everyone uses it and does it however they can, with stretching, movement, and taking care and using your bodies. I mean, don't just sit there on it because you feel that you can't do something. Try to move. I have found it so important in my close to 70 years and my nearly 40 years with this virus. It is helping me, and I want this message for others who it might be the beginning of your journey.
Thank you. Tanya, come on. I know we have like 1 minute. I'm sorry. We have so much
No,
time.
that is fine. So the work that I do here and things that I do, the Texas Strike Force, PWN founded. I'm one of the co-founders of the Strike Force. It keeps me grounded, but it also, I am a policy type person, so I fight on the ground. If you know anything about the Strike Force, come join us. And that's where our allies are fighting with us in this fight.
Thank you. Thank you. So come on, Dorcas.
Make it real fast, and I'll say this. I heard the person saying that about accelerated aging. Yes, yes, that's true. And the movement is in your state, in your clinic. Make sure, and they are not doing, because it's less than 10 in the whole United States. Our 2 here at University of Maryland Hopkins just started doing it, but make sure that they are beginning to think about initiating aging assessments in the clinic. It makes a difference. It doesn't even have to be the doctor that does it. I'm an advocate. Email me, and I guarantee you we will be in touch with you and your state through the AETC to make this happen with education.
Thank you, Dorcas. I know. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. I know Heather has a closing slide. Our panelists, you ladies are rock stars. I can't wait to see you in the next movie, Live in Living Color, coming from the Black Women in HIV and Comorbidities webinar. Thank you, Heather. I'm turning it back over to you.
Thank you so much for everyone being here today. Thank you to our wonderful moderator. Thank you to our beautiful, wonderful, powerful, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful panelists for sharing space with us. You're each inspiring, and we love you so much. Some upcoming TRP events. We're going to be in Chicago May 17th and 18th for our next in-person town hall, which is called The Long-Term Survivors, Sharing Wisdom and Shaping Legacies. Check out our social media. We'll be promoting it for a link to register. Also, please connect with us. We want you to be part of the Alliance. You're already part of the Alliance by being here, but you can connect with us on reunionproject.net. You can email us at info@reunionproject.net. We're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Please find us. You will receive these slides in a follow-up email, so you will receive all of this information. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you on the next Reunion Project. Thank you, Reunion Project. Yes, everyone. Thank you.
Great job, moderator.
Great
job. Fabulous.
Awesome
Thank
job, Miss Linda.
Thank you.
Your Reunion Project.
Enjoy.